1 month to 3 days. That is how much generative AI has compressed the time it takes to write a game mission script at NetEase. CEO Ding Lei says DeepSeek and similar technologies have increased their game development efficiency by 30%, with labor costs reduced by 40%. And Tencent just announced it's doubling its AI spending in 2026. The gaming industry is not just adopting AI, it's becoming the testing ground where AI's most advanced capabilities are being developed, refined, and commercialized.
Welcome back to Asia Tech Macro. I'm Maya, and today we're covering a convergence that most investors have completely missed. Asian gaming companies, the Tencents, NetEases, Kraftons, and Nexons of the world, are quietly transforming into some of the most important AI companies on the planet, not because they've pivoted away from games, but because making great games requires solving exactly the same problems that define the frontier of AI research: physics simulation, character behavior, procedural content generation, real-time decision-making. Games are AI's original proving ground.
Let me frame the market context first. Asia-Pacific is the world's largest gaming region at $88 billion, led by China and Japan. Global gaming revenue is projected to reach $205 billion in 2026, with mobile accounting for more than half. And the AI in gaming segment specifically is growing at 25 to 35% annually, expected to reach $11 billion by 2033. But these numbers actually understate the importance of what's happening because they only capture AI used in games, not AI developed through games that gets applied elsewhere.
Let's start with Tencent, because they're the elephant in the room.
Tencent is the world's largest gaming company by revenue, and they're deploying AI across their entire game development pipeline. Their generative AI tools have been used in around 40 games, including Game for Peace, which is the Chinese version of PUBG Mobile. The key capability is character creation. Using generative AI, Tencent can compress a process that traditionally took a month, designing, modeling, texturing, and animating a character, into a few hours.
A month of work done in hours. That's not incremental improvement. That's an order of magnitude change.
And Tencent isn't treating this as a side project. Management announced plans to double their AI spending in 2026. The Motley Fool highlighted Tencent as a long-term AI winner specifically because of this commitment. The strategy is to use AI to accelerate game development velocity, which means more games, faster iteration, and lower per-title development costs.
What about NetEase?
NetEase's CEO Ding Lei has been remarkably specific about the impact. He stated that technologies like DeepSeek have increased game R&D efficiency by 30%. The most striking example is automating NPC dialogue design and level testing. AI to now generate mission scripts that used to take 2 weeks in just 3 days, with labor costs reduced by 40%. And NetEase is building what they call an AIGC plus UGC ecosystem, which means AI-generated content combined with user-generated content. This is a platform play where AI creates the base content and players customize and expand it.
So the AI generates the foundation and the community builds on top. That's actually a really clever content flywheel.
And it's driving measurable engagement. NetEase reported that their AIGC-UGC integration has significantly boosted daily active users across their game portfolio. More content means more engagement, which means more revenue, and the AI reduces the cost of producing that content.
Let's move to the Korean companies, because what Krafton is doing is arguably even more radical than Tencent or NetEase.
Krafton, the maker of PUBG, declared itself an AI-first company and is undergoing what they describe as a complete reorganization. This isn't marketing speak. They launched a voluntary resignation program as part of the transformation, which tells you how seriously they're restructuring. They're investing over 130 billion won, roughly $88 million, in agentic AI infrastructure beginning in 2026, with an additional 30 billion won annually to support employees in adopting AI tools.
Wait, they launched a voluntary resignation program tied to the AI transformation? That's a bold move.
It signals that Krafton's leadership believes AI will fundamentally change the skill mix needed to make games. They're not just adding AI on top of existing workflows. They're rebuilding the company around AI from the ground up. They appointed a chief AI officer, established Krafton AI as a dedicated research entity, and created Ludo Robotics, a new company focused on physical AI and robotics, with operations in both the US and Korea.
A game company starting a robotics division? That seems like a stretch.
Not when you understand the technology overlap. Game engines are the world's most sophisticated real-time physics simulation environments.
Training a robot to navigate a physical space requires simulating that space first, and game engines do that better than anything else. NVIDIA's Omniverse, which is used for industrial digital twins and robotic simulation, is essentially a souped-up game engine. Krafton is leveraging their game engine expertise to enter the physical AI space, which is a multi-trillion-dollar market if robotics and autonomous systems scale as projected.
That's actually a really interesting technology transfer argument. What about Nexon?
Nexon CEO Jung-Hun Lee made a statement that perfectly captures the industry mindset. He said, and I quote, "It's important to assume that every game company is now using AI." At the Nexon Developers Conference, they unveiled a game success prediction AI that analyzes early gameplay patterns and metadata to forecast which games will become commercial hits. Think about what that means. Instead of relying on executive intuition to greenlight projects, they're using AI to predict market success before a game is even fully developed.
That's essentially Moneyball for game development.
Exactly. And the broader pattern in Korea is even more striking. KED Global reported that Korea's gaming heavyweights are increasingly positioning themselves as AI-first tech firms, expanding beyond virtual battlegrounds into sectors like fashion, media, and robotics. They're leveraging their proprietary AI tools and massive gameplay data to enter adjacent markets. Games are the training ground, but the applications extend far beyond entertainment.
Let me bring in the Japanese angle. What's happening there?
According to the organizer of Tokyo Game Show, over half of Japanese game companies are now using AI in development. But the Japanese approach is more cautious and focused on craft rather than wholesale transformation. Companies like Square Enix and Capcom are using AI for asset optimization, localization, and testing, rather than Krafton's blow-it-up-and-rebuild approach. The most interesting Japanese development is the convergence of gaming and automotive simulation. Japanese automakers are increasingly using game engine technology from companies like Epic Games for autonomous driving simulation, and Japanese game studios are providing the creative and technical talent to build those simulations.
So there's a pipeline from game development to autonomous driving simulation. That connects back to our robotaxi episode.
Exactly. The skills that make a great game environment, realistic physics, dynamic lighting, real-time rendering of complex scenes, are the same skills needed to build a convincing simulation for training autonomous vehicles. Japanese gaming talent is being hired by Toyota, Honda, and their suppliers to work on exactly these problems.
Contrarian Corner. The consensus view is that AI is great for gaming. It reduces costs, speeds up development, and creates better content. Everybody wins. Alex, what's the skeptical take?
The contrarian thesis starts with a question that nobody in the gaming industry wants to answer honestly. If AI reduces the cost of making a game by 30 to 40%, and every company has access to the same AI tools, what happens to the competitive moat?
You're saying AI democratizes game development in a way that might actually hurt the big companies?
That's the risk. Right now, Tencent has 40 games using its internal AI tools. NetEase has its AIGC platform. Krafton has its proprietary systems. These are expensive, custom-built capabilities that smaller studios can't replicate. But AI tools are commoditizing fast. OpenAI, Anthropic, and open-source models like DeepSeek are available to every indie developer on the planet. If a two-person studio in Jakarta can use generative AI to create character art and mission scripts at the same quality as Tencent's internal tools, the cost advantage that Tencent spent billions developing disappears.
That's a good point. The same AI that gives big studios efficiency also gives small studios capability they never had before.
And the data bears this out. The AI in gaming market is growing at 25 to 35% annually, but that growth isn't concentrated in the big studios. It's distributed across the entire industry. Every studio, from AAA to indie, is integrating AI. When everyone has the same tool, the tool stops being a competitive advantage.
But don't the big studios have data advantages? Tencent has gameplay data from billions of sessions across hundreds of games. Doesn't that create a moat?
That's the strongest counterargument, and I think there's real merit to it. Nexon's game success prediction AI works precisely because they have decades of gameplay data to train on. An indie studio can't replicate that data advantage no matter how good their AI tools are. The question is whether data-driven game design becomes the defining competitive factor, or whether it leads to a homogenization where every game is optimized for the same engagement metrics and they all start feeling the same.
That's the Netflix algorithm problem applied to games. Optimize for engagement and everything converges to the same formula.
Exactly. And there's a creative dimension that the efficiency narrative ignores. The greatest games in history, The Legend of Zelda, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, weren't created by optimizing for metrics. They were created by visionary designers who deliberately made choices that data would never suggest. If AI-driven development pushes the industry towards data-optimized games, The result might be more games that are competent, but fewer that are genuinely groundbreaking.
There's another risk I want to flag: the labor disruption. Krafton's voluntary resignation program is the canary in the coal mine. If AI reduces labor costs by 40%, as NetEase claims, that means a significant portion of the gaming workforce becomes redundant. Asia's gaming industry employs hundreds of thousands of artists, writers, testers, and designers. A 40% labor cost reduction across the industry would be devastating.
And the timing is particularly painful in Korea, where the gaming industry has been one of the few bright spots in an otherwise sluggish economy. Korea's gaming sector generated about $22 billion in revenue in 2025, making it the fourth largest in the world after China, the US, and Japan. If Korean gaming companies are transforming into AI-first firms that need fewer employees, the job losses are concentrated in a country where alternative tech employment is limited.
So AI might save the gaming industry's profit margins while destroying its workforce. That's a familiar pattern across every industry we've covered.
It is. And the companies that are most aggressive about AI adoption, Krafton and NetEase, are also the ones being most explicit about headcount implications. At least they're being transparent about it, which is more than most industries can say.
Action items. How should investors and business professionals think about the gaming AI convergence?
3 specific actions. First, track Tencent's AI spending as a percentage of total CapEx in their 2026 earnings, because this ratio tells you how seriously the world's largest gaming company is betting on AI transformation. Management said they're doubling AI spending in 2026. If the actual numbers confirm this, and the spending is primarily directed at game development AI rather than general cloud infrastructure, it validates the thesis that gaming is becoming an AI-first industry. Watch Tencent's quarterly earnings calls for specific commentary on AI-driven development velocity. The key metric is time to market for new game titles. If Tencent starts releasing significantly more titles per year while maintaining quality, the AI acceleration is real and the competitive implications for every other gaming company are severe. Second, watch Krafton as the leading indicator for how gaming companies transform into AI platform companies. Their 130 billion won investment in agentic AI infrastructure, their chief AI officer appointment, their Ludo robotics subsidiary for physical AI, these are the most concrete signals of a gaming company pivoting beyond entertainment. The specific milestone to track is whether Krafton generates meaningful non-gaming revenue from AI and robotics in 2026 or 2027. If Ludo Robotics secures automotive or industrial simulation contracts, it proves that gaming technology can create enterprise value outside of entertainment. Track their quarterly earnings for any disclosure of revenue from non-gaming AI applications. Even a small number, say $50 million, would signal that the market should start valuing Krafton as an AI company, not just a game publisher.
And third,
evaluate the competitive implications of NetEase's 30% efficiency gain for any company in the content creation industry, not just gaming. If AI can reduce game development costs by 30% and labor costs by 40%, the same dynamics will play out in animation, visual effects, architectural visualization, and any industry that creates digital content. The gaming industry is the testing ground, but the applications are universal. For content companies in Asia, the question isn't whether to adopt AI, it's how fast your competitors are adopting it. NetEase's numbers provide a benchmark. If your development process hasn't achieved at least 15 to 20% efficiency improvement from AI tools by mid-2026, you're falling behind.
the big picture takeaway is that Asian gaming companies are not just entertainment businesses anymore. They're AI labs that happen to make games. The technology they're developing for character creation, physics simulation, content generation, and behavioral prediction has applications across every industry that deals with digital content, autonomous systems, or interactive experiences.
And the economic implications are double-edged. On one side, AI makes gaming more profitable by reducing costs and accelerating development. On the other side, it democratizes the tools in a way that could erode competitive moats and eliminate hundreds of thousands of creative jobs. Whether you see this as opportunity or disruption depends on where you sit in the value chain. But either way, ignoring the gaming AI convergence means ignoring one of the most important technology trends coming out of Asia in 2026.
And if you want the full breakdown of Tencent's AI gaming tools, Krafton's reorganization details, and the NetEase efficiency data, we publish a free daily newsletter at asiatechmacro.substack.com.
In our next episode, we're going to look at Asia's green hydrogen race. Japan, Australia, South Korea, and India are all making billion-dollar bets on hydrogen as the fuel of the future. But the economics don't yet add up, and the technology risks are real. Who's going to win and who's going to waste their money? The data might surprise you.
Can't wait. Thanks, everyone.
Stay data-driven. Bye.